our most intriguing matchups heading into the playoffs.
Dallas and Colorado. I think that will be like the most watched series of round one.
That's the most anticipated series, I feels like, at this moment, too. Today is April 12th, 2025. Welcome to the Checking From Behind podcast. I'm your host, Zach, as always, joined by my favorite co-host of all time, Preston. It feels almost surreal that we're about 7 days away from the NHL playoffs. Feels like just yesterday we were talking about team previews and we were watching the Sabres against Devils face off in the opening series in Prague. And now here we are doing basically having playoff matchups almost pretty much locked up at this point.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm glad we can finally really stop speculating about who's going to be in and out. I feel like especially in the East, it's been kind of insane this year with the wild card race, because Ottawa's kind of been in there all year, but then you had teams like Montreal, Columbus, Detroit, Rangers, the Islanders, all in that conversation all season long. It's just been bouncing back and forth, and now it finally seems like 95% chance that Montreal is that final wild card team.
And it does feel kind of nice that at one point in the Eastern Conference wildcard race, every team was just losing, and you'd have that one team that would be like 5-4-1 in their last 10, and that would be like the best last 10 record out of any team.
Yeah.
And then Montreal's like, fuck it, we'll take it ourselves, and went on a 6-game winning streak.
I mean, credit to them. They really just like manifested their own destiny. And were like, yeah, we're doing this. I won like 5 or 6 games in a row. And yeah, I mean, barring a complete disaster. By that, I mean they'd have to lose every single game for the rest of the year, and the Blue Jackets or the Rangers would have to win out.
And the Blue Jackets beat the hell out of the Capitals today.
Yeah, 6-0. So they ain't done yet. But I believe if Montreal wins tonight, I believe that would eliminate every team in the East except for the Blue Jackets.
That is correct. And the Habs, Ivan Demidov, he is skating today.
Is he going to play tonight?
I have no idea if he's playing or not, but he did skate with the team in Toronto tonight. And actually, Montreal with the win tonight clinches.
Oh, just straight up?
Yeah,
okay.
Just straight up 2 points. I just recalled seeing something about that this morning on Instagram. But today's episode is going to be packed. We're going to be talking about every single playoff race and how it's shaping out, and then we're going to end it off with some very intriguing matchups that we see going into the playoffs, being about a week away. Let's start in the Atlantic Division, though, because the top of the Atlantic Division, it's tight still. You have Toronto at first right now with 100 points. 2 points behind them is Tampa Bay at 98, and then Florida is in third place at 96 points. Highly unlikely Florida catches Toronto unless Florida basically wins out and Toronto ends up only winning 1 out of their last 4 games. Tampa Bay, again, 2 points behind Toronto, but they also have 1 less game to go than Toronto, who has a game in hand on Tampa Bay. I think Toronto end up eventually winning this.
I agree.
And I think Tampa Bay and Florida, they have one more matchup coming up. I believe it's one of the last 2 days of the season, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that matchup would just be kind of to determine who has home ice in round one.
Yeah, and it's been chaotic in the top of the Atlantic Division. I don't think that there's any team out there right now that wants to face Florida in the postseason, even though they'll technically be an underdog if they finish off as a 3rd seed. By seeding standards.
I think they'd be favored in a series against Tampa Bay.
Yeah, I think they would be favored in a series against pretty much any team in the East either. Mainly because, again, they are the defending Stanley Cup champions.
I mean, they're getting healthier, too, because Reinhart had missed some games, and they had a few other players that had been missing time. Ekblad should be coming back for the playoffs. Still don't have a timetable on Matthew Tkachuk on when he'll be back, but he is starting to progress. Doesn't sound like he's going to be ready to start the playoffs, though, but this is a team getting healthy going into the playoffs.
Yes, and even if they don't have Matthew Tkachuk, having Reinhart, having Bennett, he's kind of been in and out of lineup due to rest.
Yeah.
And did you end up hearing the conspiracy theory that Biz threw out there about Florida purposely losing to get that first wild card spot in favor of Ottawa so they can face Toronto in the first round?
Biz is a clown. He's a clown. That is the least of Florida's concerns. Their concern is just getting as healthy and as ready as they can be to go into the playoffs, because they do not care who they play. They made it to the Stanley Cup final 2 years ago as an 8th seed. They took down the greatest team in regular season history in the NHL. They do not care who they play.
They don't give a fuck who
No.
they play, and it showed a couple nights ago when they beat Toronto.
Florida is not scared of anybody. Biz is just generating clicks. He's good at that.
Yeah.
That's his job. I'll give him that. But Biz is an idiot.
I mean, he got the entire NHL where we're talking about that.
Yeah.
That clip went viral. And, of course, because, he's on national TV, Spittin' Chicklets is the #1 podcast. And actually, second, I would argue, behind 32 Thoughts.
I mean, but they're way more consistent than 32 Thoughts.
Yeah, that's true. I would put Spittin' Chicklets #1 because I think they're way more entertaining.
I think 32 Thoughts is the most. That's what I listen to. I want to listen to real hockey talk, and Elliot Friedman knows his stuff, and it's really interesting to hear insiders talk about stuff like that and have a different point of view. But yeah, Chicklets is definitely more of an entertainment podcast.
It's like two more POVs. It's like you have the news informative stuff with 32, and then you have the entertainment stuff with Spittin' Chicklets. And I thought that take was stupid. I thought it was really dumb.
Oh, it is. Biz knows it's stupid. But
Yeah.
that's Biz's job. He's just pulling for clicks.
Yeah.
I guarantee you, Biz would be shitting his pants if Toronto had to play Florida in the first round.
Who do you have winning the division? Do you have Tampa, Toronto, or maybe Florida pulls it out?
I think Toronto will win the Atlantic for sure. Yeah, I mean, they'd have to have everything go against them to not win the division.
I'm with that, and I think it's best case scenario for them to win the division. Although I would love to see a Toronto-Ottawa series, which it's lining up to happen unless Tampa Bay seals that top spot. And let me tell you something: Tampa Bay might be the scariest team in the Eastern Conference.
And nobody's talking about
to play.
them.
Yes, thank you.
Vasilevsky's having a renaissance season. Kucherov has a really good chance to win MVP. Jake Gensel was a brilliant move. Yeah, I mean, they loaded up at the deadline. This team is good. I don't know why people don't talk about them. Kucherov, is having an MVP season. I mean, I don't know if people just aren't talking about it because they come to expect this out of him.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is a much more interesting. I don't know what we're looking for. I feel like people are talking much less about MVP race this year because I feel like last year was much more intriguing. I mean, scoring's down this year just from a points percentage because last year your top 3 points getter, Kucherov at 144, McKinnon at 140, and McDavid at 132. McKinnon ended up winning MVP, and then this year, Kucherov still has over 100 points. Hold on, why didn't it load next year? Yeah, he's 116, and McKinnon has 116. So, I mean, I'd say it's really a two-dog race between those two. Pasta is having an insane season at 102, but the Bruins are last place in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah,
so.
which at that point won't really matter. All right,
Yeah.
Going back to the Kucherov stuff, I'm just going to straight up give you the 3 other players with
I know Wayne Gretzky's
Wayne
one of them.
Gretzky is
Yeah.
on there.
Yeah.
And then Dennis Savard,
I would never have guessed that.
And then Paul Coffey.
Okay.
Did it.
I always forget about Paul Coffey.
The Kucherov is having another ridiculous season. Vasilevsky's playing like a Vezina candidate. And frankly, if it wasn't for Hellebuck having a ridiculous year, I think Vasi would take home the Vezina. But again,
he's been amazing this year, but Hellebuck's played more games. I think Winnipeg on paper, I don't think it's as deep as Tampa Bay.
No.
But I mean, no disrespect to Winnipeg. They're still really good. I didn't mean that as a diss on them.
Yes, he did. No, I'm just
I mean, because Tampa Bay has tied with Washington for the most goals scored in the NHL at 282. I mean, Winnipeg's right behind them at 269, but Tampa can score, and they have really good defense. Because they have the 5th lowest goals against in the league. Winnipeg is leading that by 10 goals by a wide margin, 182. So I think that's where I think Hellebuck is the clear-cut Vezina winner. I think he honestly will be unanimous.
Plus, also, he's played 60 games.
Yeah, and he has 7 shutouts.
Right, and he has the most wins in the NHL, and I don't like to look at wins as goalie stack, but at some point, though, having
8 shutouts.
Okay, so he has
Vasi have 6.
How many wins does Hellebuck have in 60 games? It's like 44, 46 or something.
45 and 61.
Yes.
And Vasilevsky, he's not played that many games. He's played 62. He has 37 wins.
Okay. It's closer than I really thought with the Vezina race.
I think Hellebuck will still run away with it.
Yeah.
I think he will get all the first place votes. I think there might be one Tampa reporter that votes in Vasilevsky, but I think for the most part, I would expect Connor Hellebuck to be near unanimous Vezina winner.
It's so nuts with Tampa Bay. If they ended up going on to the Stanley Cup Finals, I don't think anybody should bat an eye. This team
I think people will, though. I think people kind of checked out on the Lightning. They went to 3 Cup Finals in a row, and then they kind of had to retool the last couple of years. They were getting old, Cup tax guys. They ended up moving on from Stamkos and stuff like that. And I feel like people kind of just put them under the radar. I mean, we kind of did at the beginning of the year. I think we both had him making the playoffs, but I didn't have really any expectations for this team. But, yeah, it wouldn't shock me if this team went on a cup run. But Florida's going to be a tough first-round matchup.
Before we move on, out of the top 3 teams in the Atlantic Division, which one's more likely to go to the Cup final?
That's a really tough question. I honestly think whoever comes out of the Atlantic bracket is going to represent the Eastern Conference in the Stanley Cup final. I don't know. I really can't answer that question.
It's a toss-up. It really is a toss-up.
Because all 3 of those teams are great.
Yes, they really are. I'm going to put my bet right now on probably Tampa Bay.
Okay. I mean, I'm still going to go with Florida until somebody beats them.
I don't mind that. And I would go with Toronto, but I want to see them actually do something in the
No,
playoffs.
I mean, yeah, I completely agree with you on Toronto. Like, Toronto is great every regular season. Can they do it in the playoffs? Though?
Yes.
Can they not collapse again?
Correct. I'm so with you on that. All right. The Eastern Conference wildcard race, we're not going to spend too much time on this because we already basically touched on it earlier in the episode.
It's finally almost over.
You know what? I'm excited for the Montreal Canadiens and their fans. This is the first time since, I believe, 2016-17 where they ended up making the playoffs with fans. With fans. Sorry. They made the playoffs and made the Stanley Cup final during the 2020 or 2021 season.
Yeah.
And the Bell Center is going to be rocking for games 3 and 4 at least minimum. I'm excited.
Have you ever
for that.
watched Montreal games in Montreal with the fans, like regular season?
Yeah, I have.
I was watching a game a few weeks ago, and they go nuts.
They do.
Especially for this team that I don't think anybody in any analyst in the league would tell you that Montreal would be a playoff team this year. I think they still got some work to do. I don't think they're necessarily 100% done with the rebuild. I think they're further than people thought, but I think they did take advantage of a pretty weak Eastern Conference this year.
They did, and they also they also made their own destiny, I guess.
Yeah, no, I mean, but they play at an extremely fast pace. They can score. Don't expect them to do much damage in the playoffs. Maybe steal a couple games, but the fact that they're there is just incredible.
Although, if there is one team that can be upset in the playoffs, I think it is Washington that gets upset by Montreal. I don't think it's going to happen, but I think there is a decent possibility.
I mean, I think Montreal is going to be playing very loose and fast and free. They got nothing to lose. I don't know. I just think Washington is too much better.
I think it is unlikely to happen, but again, in the East or just in the league in general,
I don't think they're going to get swept.
No.
I don't think it will be something like that where Washington was clearly should not have been a playoff team last year. I mean, but I think Montreal has at least the firepower to make it interesting.
Yeah, and going over to Ottawa's side of things, Ottawa, to me, I feel like they're being properly rated in terms of people think that if Linus Ullmark gets hot, that they can go on a run, but I don't see them.
And that would be the funniest thing ever if they beat Toronto in the first round. I'm just saying, a team that hasn't made the playoffs since 2018. 2017?
2017.
Yeah, when they lost to the Penguins in the Eastern Conference. So that was a crazy series. I remember watching that Game 7, double overtime.
Yes.
Perfect shot. I believe by Chris Kunitz.
Yes, it was. It is exciting, though, to see, A, we're getting new teams in the playoffs for once. B, we get to see Brady Tkachuk, Tim Stützle, Dylan Cousins, Sanderson. You have Shabbat all in the playoffs. And on top of it, all it took for them to get in the playoffs was a competent goaltender.
Well, they played a lot better defensively this year, too.
They also do. They're growing as a team in general, offensively, defensively, special teams-wise. And, of course, it helps when you actually trust your goaltender to make the saves when you end up.
Oh, yeah, goaltending. I've said this a million times. When a team trusts their goaltender, they play different.
Yes, they play looser. They're not afraid to make mistakes. If they make a mistake, even if it ends up in the back of the net, they still know their goaltender will make saves time after time after time again.
No, I mean, that's like I said, I think that would be the funniest thing ever if Toronto lost. Possibly last year of having Mitch Marner being completely all in like this. John Tavares is having a really good season that I feel like is kind of going under the radar, but he almost has 40 goals.
He's almost at, 80 points
Yeah,
now?
He's been really, really good this year. This might be the last year with the core four there for them. I think this is their best chance they've had since the core fours became a thing to win a Stanley Cup. And that would just be the most Toronto thing ever to lose to Ottawa in the first round.
If they lost to Ottawa in the first round, Marner's not coming back unless you.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I really don't know what to say about Marner coming back. I think more will come out of that after Toronto season's over. I think
after they lose in the first round. Jokes, guys. Jokes, by the way.
No, we're Toronto homers, right?
Oh yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
My
true.
bad. My bad.
We got the Marner jersey up there.
Yeah.
We love the Maple Leafs.
My bad on that. Let's go over now to the Western Conference with the Central Division. It looks like Dallas is making it kind of a race. They were 4 points back about a week ago, and then last weekend happened. They kind of
Yeah,
gone on
what
a
that was
skid.
insane. So for those of you who somehow don't know, I'd imagine if you're here, you're a pretty hardcore hockey fan. Though, yeah, Dallas was up by 3 goals with a minute left in the game, and to the Vancouver Canucks, and they lost in overtime.
It was funny too because with like a minute and a half left, they scored an empty net
Yeah.
to go 5-2.
I mean, most teams wouldn't even bother pulling the goalie again once you're down 3.
No, and Vancouver didn't even pull it for their first goal. that
Oh
they
no, you're
scored.
right. They didn't. Yeah, then they scored right away, and then they pulled the goalie for the next 2. But what an insane collapse!
How do you? It's still insane to me that you even like allowing the Canucks to get back to within 1 with 28 seconds left or whatever it was, and then you score 10 to 15 seconds later.
Yeah,
Like, come on, dude. And then you end up losing in overtime.
yeah. Winnipeg should win the division. They're up by 3 points. They both have 3 games to play.
They should probably win the President's Trophy. They have Kyle Connor, who scored his 40th goal the other night. He's a stud. Scheifele, stud. Hellebuck should be a Hart finalist, in my opinion, especially with Draisaitl. He ended up getting hurt for the last – he was actually hurt twice. He's hurt right now.
I don't think he's hurt that bad right now. I think it's just more like just get ready for the playoffs.
Doesn't want to rush it. And
Yeah.
at this point, I think it opens up.
Because I believe they're locked into that 3 spot. No, they're not locked in, but I don't think they care if they have to start in LA.
No, they really don't. I mean, they go into the playoffs being like, we can beat whoever the fuck we play
Well,
on the road
yeah.
or at home.
I mean, if Connor McDavid and Draisaitl are good to go, I'd take Edmonton over the Kings.
Going over to Winnipeg, they should win the President's Trophy. They should win the Central Division. I think it's Western Conference Finals or bust for me, in my opinion.
I think it's Stanley Cup or bust.
That makes sense. But if you go up against a team, let's say they get out of the Central Division, right, and they play a team like Vegas or Edmonton. Like, if Vegas or Edmonton beat Winnipeg, I wouldn't bat an eye either.
When you win the President's Trophy, your team's expectations is Stanley Cup.
I guess everybody feels expectations when they win the President's Trophy since 2008 then.
I know the
In a full 82-game season. Sorry.
The Blackhawks still did it.
They did. That team was disgusting.
Yeah, that team was. I would have loved to see what they would have done in a full season. I think they might have been the best regular season
Full
team
82,
ever.
130-plus points.
Yeah.
And then kill everybody in the playoffs.
Yeah, no, that Chicago team was special, but yeah, no, Winnipeg. My expectations are cup or bust, and I think anything below that, disappointing year.
That's fair. I see that. I'm still going Western Conference Finals or bust. That might be me underselling it and understanding this team is gonna probably win the President's Trophy by 4 to 5 points at this rate. And having a goaltender putting up an historic season like Hellebuck, having ridiculous depth that they have, and I think it's the best depth they've had in the Hellebuck era and in this era of Winnipeg hockey where they just are a regular season merchant team. And if they get Hellebuck, Western Conference Finals Hellebuck from when they made it a couple 3-4 years ago, whatever it was, then this team will go to the Cup final because I think the depth on this team is much better than before. And if Hellebuck, he doesn't even need to still put up historic numbers in the playoffs. If he
Their
gets around
defense
and-
is much better than it was last year.
Yes, and if they get if he even just holds steady with a 9-10, 9-15 save percentage, this team will still make it to the finals.
Well, that's also why they brought in guys like Brandon Tanev and Luke Shen at the deadline, guys that can help shore up that defense.
This Winnipeg team feels like they identified roles of certain players too, which you
You have to on a team like that. Yeah, you have your goal scorers like with Kyle Connor and Scheifele and those top end guys, but then your bottom 6 is gritty, play good defense. They can also get on the score sheet if they need to. No, this team is built for the playoffs. They made very calculated because you got to be careful when you have a team this good. At the deadline, you don't want to shake things up too much, and you want to make sure you bring in the right guys. You don't want to mess up the team chemistry. Like Tanev had been there before, so a lot of the guys know him. And then Luke Shen has been in the league for forever. Good leader. Makes sense to bring. I don't think he'd affect the room at all either.
No, and they didn't need to bring guys in to completely shake up the room or, add like a top guy. No, like in situations like that, you just add depth.
Well, you just want to be careful about even adding at all sometimes, because sometimes if a team's playing at a really high level, like Washington didn't make any trades really. They may have made a couple minor ones, but outside of that, they didn't. Like, we're not going to touch what's not broken.
Right, and granted, on paper, I thought their team is really, really good anyways.
Yeah.
And you look at Winnipeg, like you brought up their blue line depth. It's much better than last year, even though they have pretty much the same guys, because I think Morrissey and Piak, again, very underrated. I loved Logan Stanley, who, again, he is a guy that will give you valuable minutes on the blue line. So, and also Dylan DeMello, who didn't have a great playoffs last year. I felt like he struggled a little bit, but he's had a very good bounce back season. And moving over to Dallas and Colorado, those two are poised to match up. And I think at this rate, it feels like they did end up clinching the home ice advantage in the first round to Colorado, considering Colorado only has 2 games left already.
Yeah,
and they're
yeah.
3
So
points.
Dallas. We probably the matchups are probably going to be. There's a few matchups I'm comfortable. I mean, one matchup in the playoffs is already locked up is Carolina versus New Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
Dallas and Colorado, 99.9% chance of playing each other, and then LA and Edmonton
Yes.
are most likely going to play each other.
That Dallas-Colorado series, they're going to beat each other up. They're going to kill each other.
That might be the series I'm the most excited for in the first round.
This sucks, too, if you're Dallas, because all it took last year and this year was just win another 3 games, and you get that first spot, and you avoid Vegas. You avoid Colorado in the first round. But the fact that they haven't been able to do that last year, it's like, don't feel bad for them because they controlled their own destiny. They just
they're
more
still
games.
really, 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 really good. I mean, Mikko Rantanen is going to be a lot of fun to watch in that series against Colorado. It's going to be weird for him. Can you imagine telling an Avs fan that you're going to end up playing Rantanen on the Stars in the first round of the playoffs? It's like, why the fuck would we trade him to the Stars? Here's the thing. You didn't.
He still looks weird in a Stars jersey.
I mean, he looked weird in the Canes jersey, too.
He looked worse in the Canes jersey.
Yeah.
It didn't look like he belonged there. He feels like just a Western Conference.
I mean, it's just with players like that, though. Like you get used to seeing them in a certain uniform for such a long time. Like the same thing with Stamkos and the Predators. Like it just doesn't feel right.
No, it doesn't feel right.
Because you just associate that player with those colors of the jerseys for such a long time. And
yeah,
like when I think of Mikko Rantanen, I think of him in an Avalanche jersey.
I think that will always be the case, unless he goes on a generational run in Dallas.
I mean, he's going to spend about half his career now in Dallas. So
yep. So it's going to be interesting to see how that career goes, and it's going to look very weird to see him on Dallas instead of Colorado in this series.
I mean, I can't imagine what's going through his head.
I don't know.
That's got to be interesting because I mean, he's had quite the year.
Dude, you know what? If I'm Mikko Rantanen, I hit up my boy Mac Dog. I'm like, yo, before this playoff series in Dallas and in Colorado, or maybe before Game 3, like, let's go out to dinner, baby.
They're not doing that. Not doing that on a playoff run.
Yes.
Regular season, for sure.
Dude.
They'll have dinner the night before the game. Playoffs, they're not fucking talking to each other. I promise you, they will not say a word to each other until after the series is over.
I would hit up Mac and be like, dude, let's go get out dinner. Like,
if I'm Mac, I'm blacking his number. Then. Yeah.
No, I get it's a competitive spirit.
No, not in the playoffs.
I wouldn't go as far as blocking his fucking number, though.
But they're not going to talk to each other during the playoffs. They might send like a little jab at each other before the playoffs start. But once they start playing, they're not friends.
Going on to the actual playoff series, though, I think the X factor is going to come down to goaltending specifically with Dallas. I think Jake Ottinger, if you get him playing at a high level, Dallas will win the series. But I want to see how Blackwood looks in a competitive playoff series and being with Colorado and having a much better blue line in front of him because he's been great in the series.
I feel like in a series like that, I think those teams are very evenly matched, very similar teams. Bringing in Blackwood and Wedgwood, I think, completely changed how that team played, and they really reshaped their depth after that Rantanen trade. I got to pick the team that I think has the best players, and I would pick Colorado. They have Cale Makar and Nathan MacKinnon.
I don't hate that. I would end up probably going Dallas in that just strictly because I picked.
I don't think you're wrong with saying either, like picking either team. I think when I look at that series, I think it's going to come down to which team has the player that can take over the game the most, and that player is Nathan MacKinnon.
I don't hate that at all, and same thing on the back end.
Because we've seen McKinnon do it. We've seen McKinnon take over games before.
Yes, and he's one of the best players at doing it.
He's one of the 5 players in the league that I think can completely take over a game.
Who would be outside of obviously Connor McDavid? Who are the other 3 players?
Or
do you not know off the top of your head?
Not off the top. Like, if you give me a second to think about it. Obviously, Connor McDavid. I think. Yeah, we'll get back to that. I don't have it ready off the top of my head, but.
Interesting. Okay. Sorry.
But Nathan MacKinnon is one of the few players in the league that completely just take over a game.
Yeah, when he wants to, if the Avalanche are down by a singular goal, whether it comes playoffs or whether it just is a normal regular season game, he'll go and get you a goal. And even if he doesn't get you a goal,
I think Draisaitl could as well. I think Crosby back in his prime could as well. I think Crosby's still good enough to be that kind of player.
Would you throw Cale Makar in that list as well, or is it hard because
It's hard because he's a defenseman, but I think he could do it.
I would throw Makar in there, Crosby, Draisaitl, McDavid, and
I think Austin Matthews could take over a game too.
Matthews and Kucherov too.
Kucherov's more of a playmaker, so
But take over, like
he
create.
can dictate, like he can draw in players towards him and open up things for other guys. He's always been really good at that. It's hard to you got to try really hard not to fall into that trap. I wouldn't say over respecting him because you have to respect a player like that on the ice. You can't let him do whatever he wants.
All right, you beauties. Quick timeout before we get right back to the action. This episode is brought to you by W Energy. Look, hockey's fast. You've got to stay sharp. Whether you're analyzing the power play or yelling at your team to shoot the puck from your couch or whether it's from the stands, that's where W comes in. No sugar, no crash, no artificial flavors, just clean energy that actually works. Go to W.GG and use code CFBPOD for 10% off. That's W.GG, code CFBPOD. Fuel up, stay locked in, and let's get back to the rest of the episode. Going over to the Pacific Division, we have Vegas, who at this point, it feels like they're going to end up taking home the division winner. And then you have LA in second at 99 points, and the Edmonton Oilers are chilling at 97 points there. So we're most likely 99.9% going to get LA and Edmonton. It's a matter of who's going to get home ice right now. LA is in hand because they have They have one game in hand. They're also 2 points up. We get part 4 of LA Edmonton, except the only difference is that LA has home ice most likely this time. McDavid has looked phenomenal since his 2 games back from
They've had home
injuries.
ice at least twice.
What's up?
They've had home ice
LA?
at least twice. Yeah.
No, Edmonton has, I thought.
I could have swore. I think last year Edmonton did, but a couple years ago,
Maybe LA has before.
they've gone back and forth. I know there was at least one other series where they played each other that LA had home ice.
Okay. David had 4 assists last night. He also had a stellar performance on Wednesday night in his return from injury. And we all know Draisaitl right now is not out of the lineup. I'm not expecting him to.
It sounds like it's just extra rest.
Yeah, he's not trying to rush back from injury. And he'll be 100% for round 1 because you want a guy like Draisaitl to be ready for round 1. Who cares about the personal accolades and everything? Like, fuck that. The main goal is to win a Stanley Cup, especially a caliber like Draisaitl with the McDavid. And Ekholm, I believe, went out with an injury last night as well, which is a tough blow for them. Jeff Skinner, by the way, first time in the playoffs in 15 seasons.
Congratulations, Jeff.
Love it, Jeff. I'm happy for you.
Still give me Oilers in 6.
I'd probably go LA in 7.
I've got to take the.
I'm
going to take the team with the best players.
You know what? I don't blame you. LA Kings since Four Nations face-off. This team has been able to score.
Yeah, I know. I really don't care about any of that. I think Edmonton is just a better team. Unless Stuart Skinner plays.
I mean, he hasn't had a great season though.
It doesn't matter.
You're only taking them because of McDavid and Draisaitl?
Yep. You can call me a hater. I don't care.
So the LA Kings, that's fair. The LA Kings have 82 goals since February 22nd.
Well, they have been scoring more lately. Yeah, that's fine. I mean, Darcy Kemper's been really good for them too.
He's putting up numbers comparable to Hellebuck right now. He has a 204 goals against and a 920 save percentage.
Can you slow down Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl?
I think that team, if you play a 1-3-1 trap or the 1-4 trap, whatever fucking trap they play.
You know how you beat that? You just skate right through it.
And you know what?
And you know who has one of the fastest players in the league?
LA would beat. You know what? We'll find out in 2.5 weeks when LA wins in 7.
That's not happening.
So. Are you sure about that?
Edmonton in 6.
I'll throw $50 on it.
I'm not doing that much money.
Okay.
I don't think you have $50 to spend.
Nope, you're scared. I low-key don't either, but that's how you make a profit. You take risks.
Yeah, no. I'll do like $5, but not $50.
I'll do 55. I threw a 5 in there. 5
no,
plus 50, 55.
No. You know. Not doing that much money.
Going on to the Western Conference wildcard race, Calgary is somehow still in this fucking thing, dude. 90 points.
Away.
They're 3 points behind St. Louis and Minnesota. Minnesota and St. Louis both have the same exact record, except Minnesota right now is a tiebreaker over St. Louis. And if Calgary ends up winning out and St. Louis and Minnesota both end up losing 1 game apiece, that means Calgary would make the playoffs and St. Louis would be eliminated from the playoffs even after having like a ridiculous 19-4-2 record since February 22nd.
I think only one of them would need to lose. Will they both need to lose out? Like this need to have the same record? I don't know.
That is what I read earlier.
Okay.
So
I mean, I still think it's unlikely that the Flames. I mean, they won a big game yesterday against Minnesota, which that could have ended all the Western Conference playoff talk, and we would have just known the teams.
Mm-hmm.
But Calgary won't go away.
And we talked about it, I think, I don't know. Yeah, it was last weekend's episode where Calgary, if they beat Minnesota in regulation, they would have a very decent shot at making the playoffs. And
Odds are still stacked up against them. They still need
very
help.
well.
But, I mean, it bought them an extra 2 games in their season.
It did. And
where they have something to play for.
St. Louis has a huge, we're talking about humongous game tonight at 10 o'clock in Seattle. If St. Louis wins that game, 2 points no matter what, regulation, overtime shootout, I think safe to say they're in.
I agree with you. Yeah. It's just, Minnesota, I think, is the team to be more wary of.
But also, they end up getting Kaprizov and Eriksson Ek back from injury on Wednesday, and Kaprizov had a great game. Eriksson Ek had 4 goals in his return.
And they let the Sharks score 7 goals.
And was it 8-7 Minnesota?
In overtime.
Did you know that the Sharks have more goals for than the Calgary Flames?
Yeah, they can't play defense, though.
No, they can't. Calgary can't play defense. They have one of the best defenses in the league.
Yeah, that's why Calgary's still in this.
That's why they have a negative 21 goal differential. Jesus
yeah, San
Christ.
Jose has a negative 98.
They have allowed 305 goals.
Yeah, their defense is pretty bad, and their goaltending's pretty bad.
Oh, sorry, no. Okay, that stat that I read earlier was old. San Jose has 3 less goals than Calgary. So
I mean, but still, that's still one of the lower in the league.
That is, you're not wrong.
Yeah, because Calgary is the 3rd lowest goal scored in the league. The only teams below them are Nashville's the worst. Wow, that's shocking.
I thought they would be one of the best coming into the season.
I knew they were going to be. I knew they were like bad this year, but I didn't realize like their goal scoring was that low.
They have
only 203 goals scored this year.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
And 261 goals against is brutal for them. Rough.
Yeah, that's why they're bad.
Yes, 100%. And I do think that Minnesota and St. Louis will both be the teams in it. However, though, Minnesota is still not doing them any favors. And like the first probably half of the season, maybe even the first 60% of the season, I thought Minnesota had a decent shot to win around. Now, going into the playoffs, I'm like, Minnesota, they'll drag out a series against Winnipeg to what? Sorry, against Vegas to what? 5 games, 6 games max? 6 games if they get lucky, I think.
6 games max, yeah.
I think
Vegas would kind of go, like, just walk all over them.
It would be, honestly, a cakewalk.
Unless Kaprizov, like, plays like MVP level.
I mean, he's going to have to put up, if they go 6 games, for example, he's going to have to put up 10 points.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Vegas is just too good for them to beat them. I think St. Louis would still also have a very tough time against Vegas.
Yeah, and I think like any team would have a tough time against Vegas. Like
either of those, Calgary would probably get swept, I would guess.
Yeah. I don't think having a rookie goaltender back there would not do Calgary any favors. And I don't care how
they can't score, and Vegas is pretty good defense.
I think the second Vegas gets to 3 goals, it's wraps. It really is. I mean, I don't think Calgary has more than, what it would be, 3 or 4 50-point scorers.
Yeah, I mean, I think Nazem Kadri's been their best player this year.
Mm-hmm.
And
Huberdeau has had a solid season. Weegar and Anderson have been good. Wolf has been good.
Their issue is more around their lineup, as they really don't have any scoring. They rely on those top guys for too much scoring, and they don't really score that much.
And a lot of games they win, they're winning 2-1, 3-2 games, and then when they lose, they're losing 4-0, 4-2. You know, like you can't rely on your defense to win games. And I know the saying defense wins championships, but I mean not when you're one of the worst scoring teams in the entire league.
I mean, good news for them is they have a pretty good young offensive defenseman coming up through their system that should be playing soon.
Zane Parak. Love that dude. Calgary Flames fans are ecstatic to get
he's going to transform that team, I think. He's going to really open things up for them offensively.
He is. And
they really need a player like that.
We might see a spike from, let's say, this time next year, right? 210 goals for now. Might be at 230, 240 goals for next season at this time. And who knows, maybe they might be looking at a first wild card spot.
I mean, they got to address their scoring. I think that's their number one issue going into the next offseason is get more scoring.
If they end up getting a top line guy in free agency, which I think is highly unlikely, but crazier shit's happened. I mean, go out and at least make an offer, go make an effort. And even if you can't free agency, go see if you can make a trade or, rework the roster in that aspect and, see what you can do. And I think Connor Zary is going to be a great player for them. Mm-hmm. He ended up dealing with some injuries this season, but he's going to be great for them. And seeing the way that Kadri and Huberdeau has produced for them on a night-to-night basis this past season gives Calgary Flames fans a little bit of hope, but of course they're not. I don't think they're going to ever live up to the contract unless they become 80,
No,
90, 100 point
yeah,
guys,
no.
especially getting $7, $8, $10 million.
I think having guys that can get him the puck more would definitely help. I mean, Huberdeau's a playmaker. He's never been a goal scorer. But I like I said, I think Pareka will like help things immensely. It might take a couple of years for him to get up to speed to the NHL game, but I think he has the potential to be an elite puck-moving defenseman in the league.
We might see something similar to. I'm not going to compare the Habs offense and the Flames offense because the Habs offense is heads and toes above Calgary Flames offense. I think we can see a similar season next season to how Lane Hudson had with Zane Parekh. And Zane Parekh, is he playing any games this year? Have you heard it all?
I mean, wasn't he in juniors this year?
He was.
Yeah,
Yes.
I mean, I'm not sure if his team's still playing or not.
I heard that they're getting him at least signed.
Yeah, I mean, get him signed. I mean, I don't know if he'd be eligible to play in the AHL playoffs.
No, he's not. So they ended up already recalling him. Flames recalled defenseman Zane Parekh.
I heard he was skating with the team.
Yeah, he is. I just don't know if he's gonna play a regular season.
I don't know if they
game.
want to put him in a really high stakes game like that.
I mean, at least get him in like practices and get him kind of up to speed to the NHL game.
Yeah, I think if it was at a situation where like they were eliminated from the playoffs, yeah, play him. But I don't think that's fair to him to like first NHL game be like a winner go home game. And
You're like, here's 20 minutes a night.
Yeah, like, no pressure. Just don't fuck up. That's not a good spot to put a rookie defenseman in.
That would be so unfair.
Playing his first game ever in the NHL.
It's the first thing that I think I've agreed with you in this entire episode. I'm just kidding.
But if Calgary is eliminated from the playoffs, yeah, they'll play him.
Yeah, even if it's like the last game of the season, just see what you got.
It doesn't hurt.
Play him for 20 minutes that night. You know,
I don't think he'll get that much ice time.
I don't think it hurts to give him 20 minutes though.
I think it depends how he does. If he can handle it, yeah. But I don't see he'll first game playing 20 minutes as a rookie defenseman.
Fuck it, you're eliminated. Why not?
Nah.
Why not? All right, so let's move on to the last part of this episode. Our most intriguing matchups heading into the playoffs.
What do you mean by intriguing? Like
just ones that we think are going to be interesting, like ones that we might be on the edge of our seat for, not some boring fucking matchup. It's like, hey, the series is going 7, but I can't stand to watch this series.
Yeah, I mean, I think we already touched upon Dallas and Colorado. I think that will be like the must-watch series of round 1.
That's the most anticipated series. I feels like at this moment too.
Yeah, I think Toronto-Ottawa will be a lot of fun.
I'm very excited for that series. I know we kind of touched on.
I think it's going to be very physical.
These teams hate each other. You get to rebuild a rivalry. And I know the NHL wants to bring back rivalries. This is one of the ways to do it. But because Ottawa's been so bad for so long and Toronto's been so good for so long.
It's not a rivalry when the other team just keeps winning every time.
Not only that, but also when they play each other, the stakes aren't up there. Now the stakes are, win or go home. The first team to win 4 games moves on. And, you play the same team that is in your same exact province.
The Battle of Ontario, yeah.
I love it. I absolutely love it.
I also think the battle for Florida will be a lot of fun as well.
Dude, how the Eastern Conference matchups are shaking out, and just the entire matchups in this entire NHL playoff format, how they're shaking out, I think it's perfect.
I mean, the series I'm looking forward to watching the least is probably New Jersey and Carolina.
I'm with that.
I really don't care about that series. Carolina should win, but New Jersey, I don't know. I've never really been that high on them.
If I'm being 100% honest, that might be the one series that I'm like, you know what? I'm just probably not going to watch.
Watch that end up being like the best series. It goes to 7. Every game's in overtime. It's just insane, crazy goals.
If I see the first 2 games of that series and the series is tied up at 1, and I'm watching that series and I'm like, this is actually not bad. I'm like, you know what? I like it. But
I think it will be a good series. I mean, I think Carolina's the better team, but New Jersey has been kind of up and down since Jack Hughes got hurt.
And them missing Jack Hughes, I do feel like Carolina might smack them around.
I don't think it will be like an ass kicking. I think it will go 6. I think it will even go 7 games.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, and then I don't think.
Which is funny because I believe like that and LA and Edmonton are the only 2 playoff series definitely matched up, like locked in, like it's 100% happening.
Yeah, mathematically, yes.
I mean, technically, I know the Kings and the Oilers aren't locked up because technically LA could still win the division. I don't see it happening.
It's the same thing in the Central too, where all Winnipeg needs is one more point,
Yeah,
and they're in it.
or just a Dallas loss.
Oh yeah, that's right. Dallas also has to win out. Winnipeg has to lose out, all in regulation, by the way.
Yeah,
So yeah, there's a couple matchups that we're starting to go locked up. I feel like the only ones that we don't know are just like the wild card ones.
I think Western wild card race is the biggest one right now because Ottawa is going to be wild card 1 and Montreal's most likely going to be wild card 2. In the West, though, we don't know. We still don't have. I don't have a clear idea.
And we know the Metro Division Capitals already clinched the conference, and then just Toronto has just has to win another game or two, and then they clinch. So we'll see over the next week, and I have a feeling by our next episode, it will be our playoff predictions actually in our playoff preview.
So we're not gonna have an episode next Wednesday or next Thursday. What do you normally have on Thursday?
Thursday, right?
Because last day of the season, we're just gonna be preparing for the playoffs. Gonna have a big playoff preview ready for you guys. Because I think it'd be kind of silly to have an episode right before we for sure know all the playoff matchups. Because there still is a chance that we might not know everything by Wednesday, when we're recording on Wednesday night. So we're just gonna play it safe and just try to get you guys that playoff preview video as soon as we possibly can.
We're expecting the preview video to come out Friday morning. It will be. Yeah,
depending, unless on Thursday for some reason, we're waiting to get one match because we're not gonna record until the matchups are finalized.
That wouldn't make any sense. So yeah, I'm excited for that playoff preview, and the playoffs are fucking here, baby.
Yep.
Pretty much here.
We're going to try to stream as many games as we can, whether it's both of us or just Zach. We're going to try to do as many nights. We had a lot of fun with those last year, and we're really looking forward to doing them. Maybe I think it would be a good idea to maybe set up some polls and see what series people would be most interested in, and maybe follow along a series or something.
We also have to get Chris in here to be, for the live streams and stuff.
Yeah, I'll make sure not have a mic and just talk the whole time.
I'll make sure he has a mic, and whether he has a camera or not, just get him a mic so he can actually be part of the conversation.
Yeah, no, I'm really excited about the playoffs, though. I think it's refreshing to me, at least, to I don't know. It feels a little bit different this year. You have a bunch of teams that were not in the playoffs last year making it this year. Just changes things up a bit for me, and I'm excited about that.
Yes, let's fucking go. It's gonna end it for today's episode. If you guys enjoy all of our content, all of our socials are down below, as well as the subscribe button. If you guys are listening on Apple and Spotify, head over to our YouTube, subscribe there again for more exclusive content. We'll see you beauties in our playoff predictions in our next episode.